Michael Castro, personal chef and owner of Modern Elegance Culinary Experience. We are a fine dining, one-of-a-kind experience located near Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, very tiring. I've been working in restaurants for a while, and I love food and I love working in restaurants. And my two greatest inspirations were family members that were both chefs. And unfortunately, throughout my culinary career, in different times, they both passed away. And so it was just very, very difficult to keep pushing forward with them. You know, I went to them for everything, whether it was just advice, whether it was what to do. I had the privilege of working with my closest friend and cousin, who was a chef, and I worked with him in quite a few restaurants in different places. And so he was definitely this big piece of my life. And so when he passed away, it's kind of like, do I keep cooking or do I do something else? And I took a trip and got some clarity and decided being a personal chef was the route I wanted to go. And it was, I mean, life was, it was just different. I mean, the restaurant industry versus being a personal chef versus being a chefpreneur it's just all different. You look at things just a lot different. I never really looked at the aspect of what the client sees or what the guest perception is. I just looked at it as, do I like this? You know, do I like this food, or do I like the product that I'm putting out? And now being a chefpreneur, it's kind of like what I think doesn't matter. You know, it's what do they think? Am I doing enough for them? And so it's really just changed my outlook on how I view most situations in my life. So it's definitely been a big game changer. I lost my uncle. He was the first chef, 2013. He I didn't really have an interest in food, but he always, every opportunity, took time to talk to me and then kind of just share his love for it. So when he passed away, it's kind of what made me decide, you know what, I wanna go to culinary school, and I want to do this for him. So he started it for me in 2013. And I had the privilege of working with my cousin in a few different restaurants, and he was just this big part of my life, like I said. And then he passed away 2019. He was hit by a drunk driver, and it was just a big part of my life that I felt now I'm the only chef, you know. So when I decided to do this culinary excursion and become a personal chef, you know, I decided I wanted to do it for them, and I really wanted to share that same love that they had for food and that same love that they have for people, for everyone else and to everyone else. So. Yeah, my uncle, he was single, never really, not married or anything, no kids, but all he did was work. That's all he did, every single day. Anytime he had the opportunity to work, he worked. And it was a good thing, you know, we're a very hardworking group of people, a very hardworking family, but he was either working or working, and that was kind of it. And then my cousin, you know, I watched him, and you know, he has 2 kids, and he had a fiance, and he was always working. Didn't really be a part of their life as much as he kind of wanted to, but he wanted to make sure that his family always had what they needed, and he had this passion, and he just went with it. And as I look on my life and I look back to the whole restaurant side of what I was doing, it was a very similar situation for me, you know, living with your parents, and you see them maybe twice a week because you're working 60, 70, 80 hours, doing what you love, which is a pleasure, but you know, I kind of was looking at my future. You know, I want a family, I want people in my life, and I want to see them, and I want them to know that I'm going to be there, but I can also provide. So it was kind of a culmination of the 2 examples I had, plus seeing where my life was already headed. I knew that like if I didn't do something different, if I didn't make a change somewhere, whether it was giving up food or finding a different route, that I was just going to be in the same boat, never seeing my family, never being around, and I really just really didn't want that. Yeah, so in 2019, I was considering different options. I have a degree in graphic design, blueprinting and 3D building and stuff like that. So that's kind of where my whole career pursuit started before restaurants. And then my uncle passed away, and I was going through some job career problems. And so I said, you know what, we're gonna follow what he did. And so I went to culinary school. Yeah, in 2019, I was considering, you know, all different types of things. You know, what could I do where I can make a living, enjoy what I do, but still be around. So I was throwing around all options, and I decided to go on a trip to Chicago. And while I was in Chicago, I met a personal chef. I took a cooking class for fun. And I was like, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, well, I'm a personal chef. This is what I do. This is what I love. And I asked him, I'm like, don't you live with a person and cook for them? And he said, no, of course not. He's like, I live here. He said, and I go there and I cook there. And he's like, I cook all over the place. And he's actually the 5th season runner-up of MasterChef. And so it was really fun and stuff. So I was like, well, that's interesting, So I came home from that trip and I immediately just started kind of looking it up because I didn't know. I mean, and when I think of personal chef at that time, it was, you're living with one family. They house you, they feed you, and you're just there to serve them like a butler. And that's honestly what I thought it was. And so, I start researching and I'm finding chefs that do this, and they do meal prep, and they do personal events, and they do anniversaries. And I realized, one, this is an actual thing that people do. And two, it's as much as I don't care about money, you make a lot of money doing it. And so I was like, wow, this could be a route worth exploring. So I did a lot of research on how to become a personal chef. I did come across Chef Andreas's podcasts at a point, but I actually came across a different chef that offered a similar program. She just wanted way too much money that I just couldn't afford at the time. And so then I came across Chef Andreas, and I just sent him the message, and I was like, hey, I wasn't even expecting him to respond. I just said, I have a couple questions about your program. Can you answer them? It was like within minutes. He's like, do you have a phone number? Can I call you? And I'm like, yeah, you can call me. So he calls me up, and we just talked, and he talked to me for, I think we talked about 45 minutes. And he just inspired me. In that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do. And I've already said it before when we introduced ourselves. One thing my dad has always taught me, there's 2 types of people in this world. There's someone that wants to make money. They just do it by helping you. And then there are people that want to help you, but they just happen to make money while doing it. And in that conversation, in that minute, I knew that Chef Andreas was someone that wanted to help people. He just happened to make money while he was doing it. Versus the other chef that was really just looking to make money. She just happened to do it by helping people. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a risk that I never thought I would take before. And I moved forward. And it's changed my life. What hasn't? Everything. I mean, it's hard to even narrow it down to one. I paid for a class that was online, that was pre-recorded. It wasn't even the actual live masterclass, which is what I was going for originally. And I was like, well, it's cheaper, but I'm losing out on that mentorship that I don't get the opportunity to ask questions. And yet, Chef Andreas is texting me, hey, how are you liking the class? Do you have any questions? Is there anything I can talk to you about? And I'm like, I thought this wasn't a part of it. And he says, no, he's like, I want to help you. I want you to be successful. So every instance that I've ever had a question, every time that I've ever needed help, I just text him and say, hey, chef, when you have some time, can you give me a call? He gives me a call. And as much as I love our conversations, they usually just take way too long. But he always makes sure by the end of that conversation, 1, he answered my question, and 2, he gave me everything that I needed to be successful in what I was going to do next. And I think that's probably been the biggest thing. Some people are just like, this is what you paid for. If you want more, you got to pay for more. And meanwhile, everyone's telling Chef Andreas, hey, this is what they're paying for. You got to slow down, otherwise we're never going to make any money on this. And but he just wants to help people so much that he really just doesn't care what he gets out of it. He doesn't care if it costs him. We're in this great retreat. and it's cost obviously a lot of money, but he doesn't care about that as long as all of us have really learned. And I think it's that care, that true personal care for each individual that's probably been the best part of being a part of this movement. Stop thinking and just do it. It's a risk, and I know because I've been scared. Every time I do something, there's a risk, and I'm always scared. And this is a risk that I took, not knowing what was going to happen, but willing to accept the consequences of it. And it has been the best risk that I think I have ever taken. And so if you're thinking about it, stop. Because as long as you think about it, you'll never do it. So stop thinking about it and just do it.
Thanks, Chef.
Appreciate it.